All right, we are live. This is the Champ Chat 2017 U.S. National Champions Edition. We'll be talking with the U.S. National Champion, Mr. Dustin Seeders. Say hello to everybody, Dustin.
Hi, everybody.
And, of course, we'll be fielding questions about him and his win in the U.S. National Championships. So if you happen to be watching live right now and happen to be in a live chat, put in capital letters, big old word question in front of your question so that I can catch him in the live chat, because that live chat gets rowdy, let me tell you, and it's really hard to catch him in there. But without further ado, let's talk to our champion himself. Dustin, I like to ask this question of all of the champs that grace Champ Chat. What is your history with the game? When did you start, and how did you get here?
Well, I started playing when I was a lot younger, back in about 2007. And then I kind of only played for a very, very short amount of time, a couple of months, and then I kind of got out of it. And then a little over 2 years ago, right after, I guess, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., right after that set came out, I got back into it. And I've been playing ever since then.
Awesome. Now, as far as competitive play is concerned, you said you got back in Nick Fury. Did you come back and say, hey, I'm going to try out this this rock tournament events, these WizKids Opens, these WizKids Nationals, etc., or did you kind of take it casual and then kind of stumble across this?
Yeah, I took it pretty casually and then sort of stumbled across the whole ROC WizKids Open landscape. I didn't participate in my first event until around June of last year, so about maybe 9 or 10 months after I started playing before I actually went to my first WizKids Open. It was a WizKids Open in Greeley, Colorado, and I got my butt kicked by Matt Grachunos in my very first game, so I learned pretty quick that it was definitely a little bit more competitive in those environments.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt Grachunos, for those of you who didn't catch that, he got second in Worlds. So not a bad player, ladies and gentlemen. Not a bad player at all. But, of course, let's talk about you getting into U.S. Nationals and going towards the whole Origins Games Fair in general. Now, U.S. Nationals, you have to qualify ahead of time via a WizKids Open of some sorts, correct? So which WizKids Open did you manage to qualify for this one ahead of time?
I won the WizKids Open in Lake Worth, Texas in February. Actually, I got first place in that one, so I got my Nationals qualification there. And as soon as I qualified, I knew I was going to go. I kind of had to, since I had qualified and I had heard how fun it was. And so, yeah, ever since February, I knew I was going. So I had a little bit of a jump on it. I got to prepare my team and play tests ahead of time and stuff. It was kind of awesome.
All right, cool. Now, I was stumbling across the interwebs recently, just kind of looking up some information. I noticed you also won a Rock Super Qualifier very recently, or at least we're in the top of that. You wanna give us the story on that one before we get into U.S. Nationals itself?
Oh yeah, we had ROC Super Qualifier up in Tulsa at Dice Addictions, and it was the last Super Qualifier before the before the Modern Age rotation. So I got to play my Pandora's Box, the same team I won the WizKids Open with in February. I played again at the ROC Super Qualifier in Tulsa and had great success again. I worked very, very well.
All right. So now let's get into U.S. Nationals itself, the one that you ended up winning. Give us the story, the leading up to deciding on your team, be it testing, be it where you came up with the ideas, and then kind of take us through the tournament leading up to the big win.
Yeah, I had several different teams that I had built and play tested a couple of months leading up to Origins, and the Faust combination I actually didn't even consider as an option until about a month before. I kind of threw that in there as a wild card thing, and I was really leaning towards a Jakeem Goblin King team, and then I showed up the first day and played in a couple of the grinders, and I saw that a lot of other people were using Jakeem Goblin King, and so I just decided to switch to Faust. I thought that Faust might be sort of a piece that people overlooked or maybe didn't quite prepare for, and that Jakeem Goblin King, I think, was a team that a lot of people were sort of preparing for and ready to face. And just figured I'd mix it up and maybe Faust would catch some people off guard, and I think it kind of did. It worked out well. We ended up a Faust-Faust matchup in the finals, so I think Faust definitely caught some people off guard.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing that the Felix Faust himself is he's still relevant, ladies and gentlemen. If you go to a WizKids event, just because The Rock doesn't let him in doesn't mean he's not allowed to be played. And, you know, it does tend to catch some people off guard. Some people don't test against it. So very good note. As far as the Swiss rounds, anything of note, like any particular opponent where you were kind of on the edge on, or I don't know what your Swiss record was going into the single elimination.
My Swiss record was 5-1, I believe. I lost my very first match against Patrick Yapjoko. And then I ended up winning 9 in a row after that. I didn't lose another one. But he definitely I didn't quite understand exactly how the Chase Hawkeye call-in was going to interact with Bizarro Green Arrow. And that kind of caught me off guard in that first match. But I'm glad that I faced it in my first match, because then I knew what was coming for the rest of the day. I could prepare for it a little bit better.
All right, cool. So, well, I mean, obviously you went 5-1 in the Swiss and went undefeated in the single elimination. But I do remember watching the final match where you played against PJ Bolin, and did it feel as tense as it looked? Because it looked like there was still, like, PJ fought to the very end. Did at any point you feel like, oh my gosh, I might lose this, or did you feel very confident through most of that game?
Oh no, there were a couple of times in that game where I had Jakeem just struggling on his last couple of clicks of life, and then I rolled a 5 on regen or something like that, and I was just like, exhale. Because it was definitely pretty dramatic and pretty crazy. It was some lucky rolls on my part, for sure.
Yeah. Now, did you feel the pressure of the camera? I know some players are not used to playing under a camera or haven't been recorded before. Did you feel the pressure of the camera, or was it kind of a way to just kind of look at it and go, well, there's no way either of us are going to get caught cheating, or it's going to be on camera. It's time for us to play our butts off and let's go rock it out.
No, honestly, I was kind of more worried about PJ than the cameras. I knew his reputation leading up to the match. I knew he was a really, really good player. I knew I was going to have to kind of focus and do some things a little different if I wanted to beat him and have a little bit of luck. I was really not even thinking about the cameras or anything at that point until maybe afterwards, and I kind of realized.
Yeah, we were definitely in this household. Myself and Amber had a couple points where, like, we feel like this could be PJ's year of pulling off the double crown, but double crown did get pulled off either way. But obviously, with the win in U.S. Nationals, you had to have participated in Worlds. How did it go for you in Worlds versus U.S. Nationals?
I did pretty well. I went 4-1 through Swiss, and I made the cut. I won my first round of single elimination against the Chilean national champ, Federico. He had a really, really fun team. I liked it a lot. And then in my second round, I had a rematch with Easton Brock, and I knew when I saw them that it was going to be really tough for me to go 2-0 against Easton Brock over 2 days. And I didn't. He got me pretty good in top 16 at Worlds, and that was as far as I made it on the second day. But still made top 16, and I was pretty happy. It was pretty awesome.
So we kind of lost the mic at the end there.
I just said that Easton beat me pretty good in top 16, but I was pretty happy to have made it that far.
Yeah. Now, the prize pack for first place is pretty big. The prize pack for top 16 at Worlds is also fairly sizable. I'm guessing the trip home was a little crowded. Did you drive, or were you on an airplane? Or
we did drive. Me and 3 of my buddies drove, and it was definitely very, very crowded in the back on the way back because my buddies bought a bunch of stuff. We traded, and we came back with boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. It was no fun. It was a 16-hour drive, and it was terrible.
Oh. Well, I mean, yeah, 16-hour drive, you're crowded full of stuff, but you got that stuff, and you got to be feeling pretty good about that. So.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Carry on?
Can't complain too much.
Yeah. It's like, oh, man, we have all this stuff from winning. Ugh.
Yeah.
With that said, though, U.S. Nationals, my understanding is that they allow or you get to request a figure to be made. Is that still an element of the pricing for U.S. Nationals, or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know last year it was part of it, and like it wasn't like design a figure, but it was more, hey, do you have a figure you want to make kind of idea, right? So that could have changed. It could be very well. Oh, now I feel silly because I'm trying to double check and make sure. It's like, don't let this guy get screwed out of it.
Yeah, I don't
He
think
could very well deserve it.
I don't believe I get to make anything. I was told that it used to be an ATA, maybe that the national champ got to make an ATA.
Okay.
But then the ATAs rotated out of modern age, so I don't think we'll be getting any ATAs anymore.
Yeah, because last year they made the final set of ATAs, but the winner of Canadian Nationals and U.S. Nationals got to suggest a figure, not design, but they got to say, hey, I want this figure made, that kind of idea. But it looks like I was just checking the pricing here, and it's not listed there anymore. So, but you got a fair bit of swag coming from that, and you also have the instant qualification to next year's U.S. National Championship. So, I mean, you got that to relax on next year, right? So, overall, how would you rate the experience at Origins this year?
I had a blast. I thought it was run very well. I thought all of the judges did a great job in every single match I had where there was any kind of rules question. I loved the active judging during the semifinals and the finals during nationals. It took a lot of stress off of my mind, not having to worry about anything because the judge was keeping track of everything. I had a blast. I loved all 3 days. I had fun. Team Worlds was a lot of fun. We didn't have great pools, but we had fun either way.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see Howard Brock win Worlds and Team Worlds. I got to play against him during nationals, and he was a very nice guy. A nicer guy couldn't have won. It's awesome.
Yeah, I actually had the pleasure of playing against him in Worlds, and I got to first step to see. Well, that's why that team is so good. So, felt the wrath of him very quickly. Okay, so all that said and done, a couple of us have mused about the idea of U.S. Nationals kind of being separated from Worlds, because both of them are kind of held at Origins. It feels like, the U.S. Nationals kind of, you're there, you get it, and then there's a World Champ like tomorrow. And you as a U.S. national champ, I kind of want to hear your opinion on this. Do you feel like U.S. Nationals should be sort of a separate event from Worlds, or are you still kind of cool with the way that U.S. Nationals is still running the same week as Worlds?
Well, I didn't have such a big problem with it. The main thing was that so we started nationals. I believe matches started at about 10 a.m. and then our finals match ended a little after 9 p.m. So that was 11 hours straight of playing with maybe I think a 30-minute lunch break, and then just to get right back at it at 10 a.m. the next day. It was a little bit exhausting. I was kind of it's tough to recuperate playing 11 hours straight and then getting a few hours of sleep and then playing 11 hours again. It was pretty brutal. It would definitely be nice for maybe at least a day in between to just kind of recuperate and then play again.
Cool. So kind of like where Wednesday to Friday or Wednesday to Sunday is the whole of Origins. Maybe have the Nationals on the Wednesday even, take Thursday off, and then Friday, Saturday run the event.
Something like that. Just maybe even just that one day in between would be great.
Yeah.
It's a little bit exhausting.
Yeah, I could definitely get behind that. I having not participated in U.S. Nationals, I kind of just went with that. So, overall, what is your opinion going? Having come from Worlds, in regards to the selection of sets, the metagame itself. Coming out, was your opinion correct? Was your opinion going out soured or anything kind of you're taken aback by?
Oh no, I kind of expected to see what I saw. We saw there were a lot of interesting and unique builds and fun builds, but once you got to the cuts, the top 16 cuts and the top 32 cuts, there were a lot of the same 4 or 5 figures. There were a lot of Jakeems. and Goblin Kings and Joker's Wild Green Lanterns and Fausts, and it just seems like you have to play a certain few figures if you want to be competitive in the competitive meta scene right now. There are a few figures that pretty much dominate a lot of other builds. They're hard to build, hard to counter.
Okay. Now, with that in mind, do you feel, and this is something I'm going to be asking, just all the champs this time around, do you feel that the cuts to the modern age should happen before or after Worlds? Because when we do it before, we kind of get the smallest version of the modern age. But if we do it after, we've kind of culminated the entire year of the modern age and then cut after we're done Worlds. Which do you feel like? Do you feel the way they're doing it now is perfectly fine, or do you feel like having a full the full culmination of the modern age that we're going to see from the year be played at Worlds?
This was actually my first year going to Origins and dealing with the whole playing Nationals right after the modern age rotation. But I could definitely see where the rotation happening after Nationals and Worlds would be beneficial, because it gives you a really short amount of time to sort of play test against what has become the new meta, because you've been so used to seeing, Pandora's Box and stuff like that over the past 6 months, and these Resurrection Man, Dead Man. You've been playing against very specific types of teams, and then all of a sudden the meta completely changes with just a few weeks before, the biggest tournaments of the year. So I could see where it would be beneficial as far as people bringing their best teams that they've had the most time to play test with, and if they did the rotation after instead of before. But again, this was my first time, and I guess I'll need a couple of more goes to see how it sort of feels. But I could see where after would be better, just giving more time to playtest and prepare.
All right, awesome. So on that note, I'm going to be, before we move into fan questions, is there anything you kind of want to just say as a statement in regards to the whole experience, how everything's been, how it's been being U.S. national champion, just any kind of overarching big talk that you want to go out with before we start letting the fans run the show?
No, not really. I don't think so. I think it was really awesome. It was fun. I think I had to have a lot of luck to win, but I think everyone who wins has to. And but no, I don't think I really have any big, great thing to say. I had a blast. It's been fun.
All right. And one more before we go to the fan questions. Any advice for players who are trying to get into the competitive game in general?
Practice against the teams that you think you're going to see there. Go look at some of the winning lists from the bigger tournaments for the few months leading up to whatever you're going to go to, and practice against those teams, because those are the teams you're going to see. I mean, Jakeem's been winning events all year, and sure enough, at Origins there were a bunch of Jakeem teams. That's what you were playing against. So just prepare for the things that people are going to play.
Awesome. It's great because one of our shows is the Meta Lab and also the Metafix. One of our mottos on the show is practice makes your team better. So it's always good hearing from a champ say, hey, practice, guys. It's a good thing. See? Told you so. All right. On that note, it looks like we only got the one sitting in the chat right now, which is there's two. And this guy sounds like he might know you. We have a J Major who's asking if he has your dice tower with a Deadpool patch.
Yes, he does. My brother's dice tower.
Oh, yeah. So, Jay, you have his brother's dice tower, and look at the menace in those eyes. He's coming to get you. All right. And next up, Mr. Jackson Agar has a question. He says, I love this. We get opinions on the ideas for teams from players. He wants to know your opinion because you're a champion. In a Sinister Syndicate theme team, do you think the double Doc Ock is better or a Doc Ock with a speed demon?
I would use double Doc Ock. Absolutely. Every time. Too much offense. See? Especially if your dice rolls are any better than mine. You should do pretty well.
Now, what if their dice rolls are like mine?
then good luck, because I tried to play Doc competitively and I did not do that well.
So it sounds like the only two guys that were there. Jay Major does also want to say that it was left in the store. It's not stolen.
Yeah, tell him I appreciate it. My brother is really happy. He had a friend make that for him.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Dice towers are a thing I kind of started to see on the rise, especially on the Dice Master side of things, because they're throwing so many of them. Might as well just throw them through that little thing. I personally, I've been happy with using my terrible hands. Maybe a dice tower will do me some good.
I don't use a tower or one of the cups. I roll with my hands.
Yeah. I mean, I do go crazy with my dice. I've been using the upper deck gravity dice recently. Oh, $20 worth spending. Let me tell you, they're so beautiful.
I'm still using my ROC dice from my Tulsa Super Qualifier win. My luck has been strong with those dice.
I was going to say, and there we go. We have the U.S. national champion using rock dice, and we have the world champion using rock dice, and we have people all complaining, lousy rock dice cost me the game. Like, well, you're all wrong. They just didn't roll for you at that time.
Yeah, they worked for me.
All right. Well, Dustin, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight on the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's always great hearing from great minds in the game. And is there anybody you want to shout out to, any stores or your local play group, anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. My local store is Sci-Fi Factory in Lake Worth. Definitely shout out to those guys for always giving us space to practice and letting us borrow whatever pieces we need and stuff like that. Shout out to my teammates and the Uncanny Clicksmen. A lot of them couldn't make it up to Origins this year, but we will be at Rocktober in full force, so that'll be fun. And just shout out to my buddies that I play with and practice with, Michael Love, Chris Salazar, all those guys for practicing with me for the last couple of months whenever I needed to. I think that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Once again, thank you very much, guys. Check us out next week. We'll have world champion Howard Brock on Friday. But it's been a pleasure talking to Dustin. And thank you guys for watching live. If you're watching the archive, thank you very much as well. We do enjoy your watching. If you want to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/madewithclicks. Check it out there and, help us out just a little. We'll get you those action tokens very soon, guys, as we'll be ordering them at the end of the month. All right. Have a good night, everybody. And thank you again, Dustin. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for having me.